everyone, it's me. Okay, right off the bat, a little bit of a disclaimer. Kent is having a mini heat wave right now, so I am actively sweating and air conditioning is not really a thing, so this video I'm gonna be quite shiny. And if you see sweat like dripping off my face, just go ahead and ignore that. So this week I wanted to talk to you guys about some of the things that I wish I knew before becoming an expat and moving abroad. Now these aren't specifically aimed at England itself. I think you'd probably experience this type of stuff if you moved anywhere. Like even if you're English moving to Canada, I think these are some of the experiences you would have as well. With the adventures and apps, I always wanted to be very honest about my experience, very honest about how I'm finding England, really honest about living in a foreign country just in general. And so these are some of the things that I wish people had told me before moving abroad. I find with social media, YouTube, Instagram particularly, people tend to kind of have this one branded image that they just sort of pump out, and it's like, my life is fantastic, everything is perfect, living in a foreign country is easy and wonderful, and everything is just fantastic. And I think that is really misleading, and it's not fair to the rest of us who have always dreamed about living abroad and aren't told like the full story, if that makes sense. So without further ado, let's go. I am so sweaty. Number one, homesickness is a thing. My God, is homesickness a thing. It sucks, let me tell you. It sucks, just terrible. But being homesick, even if it's like debilitating homesickness, does not necessarily mean that you have made the wrong choice or that you are a failure in this particular adventure. Homesickness, unfortunately, just comes in the package of being an expat. So homesickness sucks, is very real, and you kind of just have to push through it. Now, I actually made a separate video on ways that I deal with homesickness, like specific ways that I deal with it, and then went to edit said video and the whole thing was out of focus. Awesome. For those of you who don't know me, I wear glasses because I can't see. Why not? But I don't wear glasses when I film because I get that reflection off this ring light, and I'm not tech savvy enough to like lighting and everything, so I just take them off. But that means everything I see in this viewfinder is fuzzy. So I just assume it's okay, and then I went to edit and it's like, no, actually the whole thing is legitimately fuzzy. So I'm hoping to do another video on homesickness specifically, but in general, it sucks. It's part of the package. You just need to find ways that you personally can deal with it. Now, what I did find is, for me personally, my homesickness was the absolute worst for the first few months. Like just really uncomfortable, surprisingly heavy homesickness, and it does ease up. I've been living in England now for 2.5 years, and I still have bad days, absolutely. Holidays, birthdays, Thanksgiving, stuff like that makes the homesickness worse, but on the day-to-day, it is bearable. So my advice would really just be, just because you feel homesick and it can be very overwhelming at the beginning, don't think that you have made a mistake in moving abroad or that you're a failure in this endeavor. It's not like that. It's just part of being an expat. Number two, wherever you move to in this beautiful big world, you need to understand that you are not there to change that country. I love England. That's why I'm still here. I'm still kicking it. That's why I pay so much for visas and immigration, because I genuinely do love it here. But there are obviously things that I don't like and I wish I could change, but that is not my responsibility. I'm here to assimilate as best as I can, to understand the culture and the languages and the practices of England, but I'm not gonna change that. Even if there are things that maybe you don't believe in or you don't agree with, you still need to understand that that's part of your new country and respect that. Even if it's not something you're going to partake in or experience because you don't agree with it, whatever, you still need to understand and respect it. Now this works both ways. Most of my viewers are British, and I say British because YouTube doesn't specify which country, it's British, so we're gonna say that. Now most of my viewers are British, and a few weeks ago, I guess, I talked about in one of my videos how in Canada and the US we say math as the short form, just math. And here, people will say maths. And honestly though, you guys got so heinously angry. I was having grown British men messaging me being like, obviously it's maths. It's the short form of mathematics, you dumb cow. People were very angry. So if you are British and you move to Canada or the US, you would have to understand that the correct way to say the short form of mathematics is math. And you are not going to change that country into saying it the way that you think is correct. Number 3, everything is going to seem difficult at first. Everything. And it is exhausting. Even something as dumb and monotonous as going grocery shopping, for the first few months, grocery shopping is difficult. So when I think back to when I was living in Canada, I went to the same shop, usually Walmart because it was closest to my house. And if you live in Canada, you know things are spread out, so you really have to go to whatever is closest. So I'd go to Walmart and I knew all the brands and the items that I wanted just from visually looking at it from like a row away. I could tell what I needed. When I moved here, even shopping at Asda, which is the British Walmart, even still, all the brands are different, all the packaging is different, all the like names of things are different. So I'd have to like stand in front of the row of cheese. Now normally I like Cracker Barrel or Black Diamond cheese is really good. But I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, I don't know any brands. So I'm just gonna look at prices. Then I have to pick them up. I'm like, okay, Red Leicester. Don't really know what that is. We'll give that a shot. So a lot of the stuff that seems so easy back in your home country will be very difficult in your new country at first. And a lot of stuff ends up being trial and error. Like when I go grocery shopping, I'm like, don't know what that is, don't know what that is, don't know what that is, so I'm just gonna try all of them and hopefully I'll like them. Or things like I had to get a new doctor, I had to get registered, the like prescription refills and doctor's appointments and things are different here in England, so you kind of like, you're always having to ask questions and people are like, are you dumb? Like, why don't you know this? Even we went to the mall. So one of the big shopping malls sort of down here in the southeast is Blue Water. I don't know if you guys watching have ever been to Blue Water. First of all, it's massive. Second of all, it is normally just overwhelming to begin with for me. I'm just like, there's so much stuff. But when I first moved here and we went shopping because I needed clothes, duh. So we go to Blue Water and I'm standing there and I'm looking at the directory. I'm just like, I don't know any of these names. I don't know any of these stores. I don't know the price range of any of these things. So it was very trial and error. I'd have to go in like every store and kind of like peruse around and then check a price tag. And a t-shirt would be like 300 pounds. I'm like, yeah, okay, this store is not for me, and kind of mosey on out. So really simple things like going shopping, food shopping, doctors, things that come naturally, take time to get used to. But like I said, this does change. I remember after maybe like 4 or 5 months of living here in England, I was walking home from my bus after working all day and it was sunny. It was probably this time of year as well. I felt very much at peace and I felt very much at home. You know, in my mind I thought, I'm going home, you know, to this home. Everything starts coming more naturally, things start seeming more normal, and as you assimilate better, things become less difficult. But just be aware at first, my God, everything is exhausting. Number 4. Is that right? I've not been keeping count. Number 4, making friends as an adult sucks. Making friends as an adult who's also a foreigner sucks extra. For me, I would classify myself as an anxious introvert. Awesome. One of the best combinations for personalities. So being an anxious introvert means making friends for me is excruciating. I would rather set myself on fire than have to try to make friends. It's just so painful. I'm probably gonna do a separate video, tips on how to make friends as a foreigner in a different country, in an adult. That will come eventually, but just know it sucks and it's hard and it's awkward, but it is absolutely doable. It is possible to make friends even if you are an anxious introvert. I guess the only thing that I would point out is it takes actual effort to make friends. When I first moved here, I thought, oh, it'll just happen. It'll just happen naturally, you know? Who wouldn't want to be my friend? Newsflash, it did not happen naturally. Nobody wanted to be my friend. So it does take effort. It is exhausting, but it is possible. And I'll do a separate video on tips on ways that I made friends here in England, but just know it is possible. Number 5. This is kind of depressing, and I don't mean to have like a pity party, but let's just be honest. You know, that's the whole point of Adventures and Naps. We're gonna be honest. The longer that you live away, the less effort your friends and family will probably make. Now, I'm not throwing shade on anybody, but it's just, I think, a part of being an expat, you know. How do I explain? When I first moved here to England, I got all these cards and people would send me like care packages with like Canadian treats and stuff in them, and it was very, it meant a lot to me, especially I was really homesick, so getting those kind of presents like really meant a lot. But as time goes on, you know, people are busy and have lives back in Canada. I'm aware of that. Even things like sending a letter or a card, you have to go to the post office, you gotta get international stamps. Who has stamps anymore? Nobody. You gotta go get stamps. You gotta then send this, you know, card. If it's for a particular holiday, you gotta send it early because it takes time for international shipping and all the rest of it. So I just think people tend to try less. So just be aware, like, again, not having a pity party, just being honest. My birthday was recently. Happy birthday to me. And I didn't receive a single card from any of my Canadian family or friends. Nice. Again, it just takes effort. And I think maybe people realize, well, you've been gone along a while. You don't like need it as bad as you did originally. You know, the homesickness isn't as bad, so I'll just, you know, I'm really busy, I probably won't get around to it. Or maybe you just remember after the fact when Facebook is like, oh, it's Alanna's birthday today, and you're like, oh, I never sent a card and it's too late now, so I might as well just not do it. I guess just be aware that the effort of family and friends will dwindle. It has to. I mean, they're busy people, so just be aware. And finally, number 6. If you have been counting and that's not 6, let's just pretend it is. Now this one, I don't really know how to explain, but when you live in a foreign country, I would say for more than 2 years. If you're just doing something short term, this probably doesn't apply to you, but if you're doing something long term, you will find that your identity changes. I am Canadian. I will always be Canadian. I will always identify as Canadian, that's who I am, whatever. But when I go back to Canada, I find, I don't know, it's like the place hasn't changed, but I've changed. And it feels funny. You might have even felt this, say if you moved away for university or something and you come back to your hometown and all of a sudden you're kind of like, this feels different. And I notice more when I visit back home how much my language has actually changed. And the British word or the English word that comes out, and it's kind of like, well, I'm not the same person that I was. And that's very weird. However, at the same time, I will never be English. I will probably never have an English accent. I've known people who have lived here for decades and they still sound their home country language way. Obviously, accents might kind of trickle in and word choice changes, but overall, I'm never gonna sound English. But then it kind of leaves me as like this hybrid identity between Canadian and English, and you're kind of like stuck between where you are and where you come from and how you see yourself and your word choice and your perspective of things. Does that make sense at all? I guess it's just this idea that if you are going to live away for a long time, your identity will change into some sort of hybrid between your home country and your new country. I don't think I will ever, I'll never be English, right? I'm never gonna be English, but I feel like kind of in between. Don't know, I think I've just triggered like an existential crisis. So, nice. Anyway, those are some of the things that I wish I was told before I moved abroad. It wouldn't change my decision, I'd still do it, but sometimes it's nice to know some of these more difficult aspects ahead of time. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, bye!